Hey, welcome back to the Daily Dave. It's Dave here on the How to Podcast series. I got some random things have come into the podcast lately, so in a world of random, let's try to make sense of all this stuff, and I wanted to share with you because, why? You're sending me messages, and I'm like, well, I gotta do something with these messages because I love every time that you reach out. So, okay, this is kind of a mismatch of different things we're going to talk about on the podcast, so stick with me. We'll try to make sense of it all. You and I, we can get through this, okay? We're friends, right? You and I can do this. Okay, so I did an episode of the How to Podcast series where I talked about how we could Shaboozey our podcast. Do you remember that episode? You're like, Dave, I have no idea what you're talking about. What the heck is a Shaboozey? Well, you should go check out the episode because it's really important to go listen to podcasts from the past. I know you're here, you're new. Hi, welcome, nice to have you here. But we do a lot of episodes here on the How to Podcast series. So episode 275 talks about Shaboozeying your podcast. Now I've turned it into a verb, I guess, right? So in that, we're just saying that Shaboozey artist takes rap and country, puts them together, and creates a new style and draws a lot of new fans. And I'm just saying, when you create your podcast, you can do whatever you want. You don't have to do one or the other, one at the expense of the other. You can do both. You can do whatever you want. You can match things up. You can mismatch and take things that don't seem to go together, and it's that whole peanut butter and chocolate thing. You can do whatever you want. You can just put these things together and make something new that didn't exist before. And I know, I'm getting some responses like, hey, there's other artists. I know, there's Beyonce, there's all kinds of other artists that have done similar things, but Shaboozey really caught my attention because of the response from the community, people who love it and people who don't love it. And I thought, I want to be the one supporting artists doing something unique and different and new. To that end, I want to support podcasters who do something unique, different, and new. Because I think we need more of that. Another interview show, another true crime podcast. Oh my gosh. Enough with the true crime people. Come on. Let's come up with something new. Let's take something in true crime and interview, or true crime and bedtime stories, or I don't know. Put something different together. Let's do something new, everyone. We need some newness in podcast. So I'm challenging you to put two things together that are different. And so I asked the question, I put out episode 275, and at the end I put a little thing saying, I want to hear you respond, and with the word Shaboozey, just to know that you've heard the episode and I want to hear your voice. So people are responding, and I'm like, well, what do I do with these responses? Because I don't really have a plan. Good idea, Dave. You should have a plan. So I thought, well, I'm going to put them here. I have some other stuff to talk about as well. But here is the responses so far, with people Shaboozeying me with voice messages from SpeakPipe on my How to Podcast series website at howtopodcast.ca. So here we go. Here's some responses. And thank you for responding. You'll hear your voice here and you'll be like, that's me. Well, here you go.
Everybody in the bar getting tipsy. Oh my dear Lord. Shaboozey.
Shaboozey. Now I'm going to stop and just give you a couple other names. Post Malone, Kane Brown, Jelly Roll. I think they're all in the same vein from a music standpoint. But I love the episode. Keep up the good work. And, oh, by the way, Post Malone and Kane Brown both have some Christmas songs. That's important to me.
Yay! Hey, this is Gary from Healthy Vegan Living. Want to just add this real quick note to you. Boppity bop bop boppity Shaboozey! Boppity bop bop bop. Come and listen to my wonderful channel about healthy vegan living. Bye-bye now. That was a lot of fun, wasn't it, Dave?
Yeah! So one of the questions I get a lot here on the How to Podcast series and through working with clients, working with great podcasters just like you, is, Dave, how do I grow my like engagement with my audience? Like how do I hear from my podcast listeners? I feel like I'm talking to the wall. Well, do little things like I did on episode 275 and ask of your listeners at the end of the show to give you back a secret word or answer a secret question or whatever, and then make it easy to do so. There's the one thing I'm struggling with some of the people I work with is they don't make it easy for me to respond to you. They don't make it easy for me to buy you a coffee and donate to your podcast and say thank you, because there's no way to do that. Buy Me a Coffee is free. And I just talked to the team at Buy Me a Coffee this week because they're like, Dave, what are you doing? We need to have a chat because your Buy Me a Coffee is doing very, very, very well. And we need to know what the heck is going on up there in Canada and what you're doing. So I had to meet with them and say, hey, my audience is amazing, and I love taking the money that comes in from my listeners and redistributing back out to the community. So if you are thinking about, well, Dave, I'm not getting any feedback or engagement and no one's supporting my show, what have you got in place to do so? What do you have in place to collect voice messages? SpeakPipe is free, everyone. Remember, podcastforfree.com, my website, free tools. People will say, Dave, that free is a terrible business model. Well, then you need to get out of Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Gmail, Google, Internet, right? Breathing. All of those things are free, everybody. So free is not a terrible business model. It's also something that we use every day. Like air, which is free. So, okay, anyways, rant over. You need to create some way for your audience to communicate with you. Make it easy, super easy. Throw in a little question at the end of the podcast. That's when your key listeners that are really into what you're doing and love what you do, they stay to the end of the podcast. Again, good signal to Apple and Spotify that you're doing something great. Encourage your listeners to stay to the end. Throw in some bloopers. Throw in a question that your audience can respond to, like Shaboozey. It's fun. Okay? So that's that. So what's the other thing we need to talk about? Is the question of the month. Yay! So the question of the month for July, and we've been asking everyone to respond. If you haven't done so yet, okay, I'm looking at you right now. Sit, lean up, lean forward. I'm looking right. No. Yeah, you. We asked the question of the month, and we've had great responses, but we haven't had your response. So I'm asking, it's summertime. I know you can squeeze me in between those refreshing drinks from Starbucks or 7-Eleven or whatever. You have a few minutes to do so. So I'm asking you right now to stop putting it off and do the response to the question of the month by going to howtopodcast.ca, clicking the SpeakPipe link on the website. It doesn't cost you a penny to do this. The ultimate goal is for people to fall in love with you. If you don't have a podcast yet, then shout out your favorite podcast. That's great. I'd love that. I'd love it. I'd love to hear what you're listening to. But the whole idea behind this is that you get to shout out your own show, if you have one, so that you can invite people to come listen to it. And it's all disguised in answering the question of the month. So I've had some great responses, but I need yours. And I'd love to hear from you. So I'm asking again. It's getting close to the end of the month. And I need time to put all these together. So the sooner you do this, the better. The question of the month simply is, do you listen to your own podcast? Yes or no? Why? Or why not? So we've had some really great responses so far. I would love to hear yours. So please head over to the howtopodcast.ca website, click the SpeakPipe, and answer the question of the month. You're going to tell me your name, the name of your show, or the show that you love. You can do that as well. And your answer to the question, do you listen to your own podcast? Yes or no? Why or why not? And I would love to hear your response and put you into a combined episode at the end of the month featuring all of you, the great, amazing listeners and supporters and community members and clients and friends and family and every other word I can come up with that are a part of the How to Podcast community. I want to celebrate you by promoting your show and what you love on the howtopodcast.ca website. So please, put your drink down before you get a refill and go do that right now. Because you're going to forget. You'll be like, dang it, I forgot again. Every month I forget to do this. Please don't forget. Tell us about your show. Do you listen to your own podcast? Yes or no? Why or why not? All that at howtopodcast.ca. Okay, there's more news. Here we go. One more thing. So the month of August is going to be crazy busy for me and my wife Jen and my family. We're going to be, we bought a house and we have to do everything in this house. We got to paint, we got to rip out the flooring, we got to do bathroom remodels, kitchen redo, a lot more painting. Oh, we got a lot of work. We got a backyard to fix up. We got a lot of work to do in the month of August to have our new place ready for tenants in September. So we normally do a weekly meetup group for the How to Podcast series. howtopodcast.ca is the links for all the meetups. I think we're going to take a pause in August so that we have time to do all this work, because my wife's off on Saturdays and I normally do the group on Saturdays. I think we're taking a pause for August. We'll be back in September, and I know you're disappointed. Aww. But we really, thank you. We really do need to get this work done. We have a very short window of time, and in the last few weeks in July, the meetup groups are getting smaller and smaller, realizing that people are doing summer here in North America, and you have limited time with your family. We get that. So take August, fall in love with nature, get outside and do something, or grab a paintbrush and come and help us with our house. So August is going to be slow and quiet for our meetups, but we'll be back in September, 100%. We'd love to hear from you. howtopodcast.ca. Thanks for being here, everyone. Take care. Happy summer. Bye.